Qin Shi Huang, the creator of China and the conquest of eternity. Introduction: The Call of Destiny. In the roaring river of history, there are certain individuals who not only changed the destiny of a people, but who also reshaped the very form of a civilization, leaving a legacy so brilliant and so terrifying that its echoes reverberate for millennia. Before him, the land was a chaotic mess of 7 kingdoms locked in mutual slaughter. After him, a new concept, a great entity named China, was born. He was Ying Zheng, the king of the state of Qin, but history does not remember him by that name. History knows him by a title of his own creation, a title that had never existed before and will forever be associated with ultimate power, Qin Shi Huang. This is not merely the story of a king. This is an epic of unification, of creation, of brutality, and of a burning, obsessive thirst for immortality. Let us turn back the wheel of time to the 3rd century before the Common Era, to witness the rise of the first emperor who used blood and iron to unify China. Chapter 1: The Blood of the Wolf and the Philosophy of Iron. To understand the power that propelled Qin Shi Huang to the apex, one must first understand the kingdom that birthed him. The state of Qin was located in the remote western frontier, a land of treacherous mountains and arid plains. Regarded by the Central States as a semi-barbaric nation, the people of Qin possessed a martial, tough, and pragmatic spirit, forged through centuries of fighting with nomadic tribes. They had no time for lyrical poetry or benevolent philosophies. They had only land and war. And they had a terrifying ideological operating system, the philosophy of legalism. Pioneered by thinkers like Shang Yang and Han Fei, legalism completely cast aside the rituals and ethics of Confucianism. This philosophy argued that human nature is selfish and can only be controlled by draconian laws and brutal punishments. It exalted the absolute power of the king, concentrating the entire strength of the nation on only 2 goals: agriculture to build wealth, and war to expand territory. The state of Qin had transformed its entire nation into a colossal war machine, one that was efficient, disciplined, and utterly ruthless. In 247 BCE, a 13-year-old boy named Ying Zheng ascended the throne of Qin. His childhood was not one of silk and comfort. He was born in the rival state of Zhao, where his father was a hostage, and he lived in contempt and danger. These years of humiliation forged a man of boundless ambition and extreme paranoia. Upon taking the throne, the young Ying Zheng was still a youth and had to rely on the counsel of his regent, Lu Buwei. But the young tiger matured quickly. Through ruthless and decisive plots, he completely eliminated the factions of both Lu Buwei and his own mother, Queen Dowager Zhao, seizing absolute power. Now, nothing could stand in his way. With the help of brilliant generals like Wang Jian and Meng Ao, and especially the exceptional but cunning Chancellor Li Si, Ying Zheng set the Qin war machine in motion, beginning the greatest conquest in the history of China. Chapter 2: The Iron Storm that Swallowed the 6 States, 230 to 221 BCE. The conquest by the state of Qin was not a series of isolated battles, but a systematic campaign of annihilation, an iron storm calculated to the finest detail, which swept through the remaining 6 states in less than a decade. Han, the first victim, 230 BCE. The state of Han, the weakest and closest to Qin, was the inevitable first target. The Qin army poured across the border like a flood, easily destroying the capital and capturing the king of Han alive. The swift fall of Han sent a psychological shockwave across the land. Zhao, the clash of arch-rivals, 228 BC. The state of Zhao was a formidable military opponent. But Qin did not rely on force alone. They used gold and silver to bribe officials in the Zhao court, spreading slanderous rumors about their last great general, Li Mu. The foolish king of Zhao believed the slander and ordered Li Mu's execution. Having lost its best commander, the Zhao army was like a snake without a head and was quickly annihilated by the Qin forces. Wei, the Battle of the Waters, 225 BCE. The capital of Wei, Dalian, had strong walls and was difficult to assault. The Qin army employed a terrifying tactic. They dug a long canal, diverting water from the Yellow River and the Han Canal to completely submerge the city. Hundreds of thousands drowned in this man-made deluge, forcing the king of Wei to surrender. Chu, the fall of the southern giant. 223 BC, the state of Chu was the largest, with the oldest culture and a fierce sense of pride. Initially, the Qin army suffered a major defeat. King Ying Zheng had to personally visit the retired General Wang Jian, apologize, and grant him command of the entire Qin army, a force of 600,000 men. With this overwhelming force, Wang Jian slowly and methodically crushed the resistance of Chu, Yan, and Qi. The final chapters, 222 to 221 BC, the state of Yan in the far north also quickly fell. Its most tragic story was the failed assassination attempt by the envoy Jing Ku, who almost succeeded in killing Ying Zheng in his own court. Finally, in 221 BCE, the state of Qi, the last kingdom, terrified by Qin's power, surrendered without a fight. Within 10 years, 6 kingdoms had been erased from existence. Centuries of division were over. Ying Zheng now stood at the absolute pinnacle of power, the master of all under heaven. Chapter 3. Reshaping all under heaven. Military victory was only the first step. Ying Zheng's ambition was far greater. He did not want to be just a king like those before him. He wanted to create an eternal empire, an unbreakable order, a world completely remolded to his will. First, he created a new title. He argued that the title of Huang, or king, had become common. He took the character Huang from the mythical 3 sovereigns and Di from the legendary 5 emperors to create a completely new title, Huangdi, or emperor. He declared himself the first emperor, or Shi Huangdi, and decreed that his successors would be the second emperor, the third, and so on for 10,000 generations. Next, he carried out a series of revolutionary reforms to completely unify his empire, not just in territory, but in culture and economy. He wanted all under heaven to be as one. Standardization of writing. He ordered the abolition of all variant writing scripts from the old 6 states and imposed a single, standard script, the small seal script of Qin. For the first time, a command from the capital could be read and understood accurately in the most distant corners of the empire. Standardization of measures and currency. All units of length, weight, and volume, and all different types of currency from the old states were abolished and replaced by a single, unified system. Creation of a road network. He ordered the construction of a massive network of imperial highways called straight roads, connecting the capital of Xianyang to every region. He even standardized the axle widths of carts to facilitate easy travel, an unprecedented infrastructural concept. And most grandly, he ordered the connection of the separate defensive walls in the north into a single, continuous structure to defend against the Xiongnu nomadic tribes. This was the beginning of the Great Wall. Hundreds of thousands of people perished to build this great defensive barrier, their bones mixing with the earth to create the border of the empire. And the thirst for immortality. To ensure absolute unity, Qin Shi Huang did not hesitate to use the most brutal methods. Influenced by the legalist thought of Li Si, he believed that the unity of thought was as important as the unity of territory. Any differing thought was a seed of rebellion. In 213 BCE, he ordered the most infamous act of his reign, the burning of the books and burying of the scholars. He had all the books from other schools of thought, especially Confucianism, burnt. Only books on medicine, divination, and agriculture were spared. Hundreds of scholars who disobeyed were tricked and buried alive. Qin Shi Huang wanted to completely erase the past, so that history could begin only with him. The older he got, the more the emperor who held all power became obsessed with the one thing he could not control, death. He became fearful of sickness and longed for eternal life. He sent numerous expeditions to find an elixir of immortality, the most famous being that of the court sorcerer Su Fu, who sailed into the Eastern Sea with thousands of young boys and girls to find the mythical islands of the immortals, never to return. When he realized he could not defeat death, he decided to build a kingdom for himself in the afterlife, one even greater than his earthly one. He ordered the construction of a massive mausoleum, an underground palace, complete with rivers of mercury and a ceiling simulating the starry heavens, protected by countless traps to deter intruders. And to protect him in eternity, he ordered the creation of an army that no one could destroy. That is the Terracotta army of Xi'an. More than 8,000 life-size statues of soldiers, Generals, cavalry, and war horses were crafted from clay, each with a unique face. This was an immortal army, originally painted in vibrant colors and equipped with real weapons, ready to continue his conquest in the next world. Conclusion: the undying legacy of the first emperor. In 210 BCE, Qin Shi Huang died suddenly during an imperial tour. His death was kept secret to prevent rebellion. But once the news broke, the empire he believed would last for 10,000 generations collapsed just 3 years later, under the weight of its own brutality and peasant uprisings. The Qin dynasty was short-lived and recorded by history as tyrannical. But the legacy of Qin Shi Huang is immortal. The man Ying Zheng was dead, the Qin dynasty was erased, but the concept of a unified China, and all under heaven that he spent his life creating, has endured forever. The subsequent dynasties, from the mighty Han to the present day, while criticizing his tyranny, have all ruled upon the very imperial foundation that he built. He was a tyrant who killed millions, but also a creative genius who ended centuries of war. Whether a hero or a villain, no one can deny that Qin Shi Huang was one of the most influential figures, not just in Chinese history, but in all of human history. His shadow still looms over the land, immense and terrifying, to this very day.